tech companies are developing increasingly sophisticated ways to collect and use the personal data of you and me, millions of Americans, without any federal regulation behind it. That information can be shared and sold without your knowledge, but new legislation introduced this week is hoping to change that. The American Privacy Rights Act would set a national data privacy standard, putting Americans in control of their personal data online, including how it's used and also where it goes. In its current form, the legislation would, for the first time, allow people to sue when their privacy rights are violated online, while also minimizing how much data companies can collect. Lawmakers say the goal is to avoid harmful data breaches and prevent your private data from being sold off to the highest bidder. Joining me now for more insight into the American Privacy Rights Act is one of its co-sponsors, Washington Representative Cathy McMorris Rodgers. Congresswoman, thanks for your time again this morning. Appreciate it.
It's great to be with you. Thank you.
Let's start with just how this would work if it's passed. I mean, what would me being in control of my own personal data actually look like?
Well, it would mean that you would be able to know what the profile is that's been collected upon you. There would be a limited amount of data that would be collected to begin with, and sensitive data like your location data, your search engine history, personal information that identifies you, that they would have to seek your permission before they collect that data upon you. And if somebody is collecting information on you, personal data, and using it in ways to manipulate or feed it dangerous algorithms, that you would be able not only to know that that's happening, but that you would be able to say, you need to stop this. And if they don't stop, you would be able to enforce it through ultimately a lawsuit if they do not stop doing this. It puts individuals back in control. And this is important to all Americans, but especially our children. Parents are calling upon Congress to act because we know that too many people are being targeted, especially our kids, and predicted and manipulated for dangerous purposes.
I think all of us have had that moment with our phone. You know, we've just had a conversation with friends or family, and moments later, your social media accounts start feeding you the products that you were just talking about. And I think for most of us, we say, okay, that's freaky, but then just kind of move on. What should we be scared of? What keeps you up at night?
Well, ultimately, it is big tech that is manipulating how you think, how you act. We heard testimony yesterday at the hearing from a young lady, Ava, who talked about the troves of data, really an arsenal of data that had been collected upon her by her search history, but also just staying on a post for too long, and that they were able to identify her vulnerabilities and ultimately take her down this path that led to an eating disorder. And unfortunately, these are the kinds of stories that are repeated over and over, where they're able to predict how we think, how we act, and too many times, bad actors are using it for purposes that are very destructive.
Yeah, there's some dark corners of the internet. There's no doubt about that. I know you're teaming up with fellow Washington lawmaker, Democratic Senate Commerce Committee Chair Maria Cantwell for this legislation. So this is a bipartisan bill. Are you getting much pushback on this?
Members on both sides of the aisle know that we need to act. This legislation, I'm really excited that we've been able to craft, hammer out an agreed-upon proposal that is bipartisan and also bicameral. Yes, House and Senate, Republicans and Democrats coming together. We've been working on this for years, but now is the time to act. And at yesterday's hearing in the House, members on both sides of the aisle expressed so much encouragement for a draft proposal, a national privacy standard that we would be able to put into place to protect all Americans online, but especially our children. Many members have been involved in efforts through the years, but the time to act is now, and we've reached an agreement on a draft bill that we plan to keep moving through this process. As the chair of the committee, we had the hearing. Now we're going to start working through actually introducing the bill, as well as the kids' online safety bills, and moving them through the legislative process to get them onto the floor and ultimately the president's desk.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. Also, don't forget to click that red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.